Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jamie Holmes. The Federal Reserve Chair is warning that taming higher prices will cause some pain for Americans as they continue to face rising inflation. Edward Lawrence has more on the White House's stance on the issue.
And really, that's been one of the messaging here at the White House, to try and shift the blame for inflation over to the Federal Reserve. And in fact, in his streamed interview yesterday, Fed Chairman Jay Powell admitted the Federal Reserve is behind the curve on inflation.
If you had perfect hindsight, you'd go back, and it probably would have been better for us to have raised rates a little sooner. I'm not sure how much difference it would have made, but we have to make decisions in real time based on what we know then, and we did the best we could.
But you have to remember the situation at the end of last year. President Biden sat on the decision on if he would renominate Powell until after the December meeting by the Federal Reserve. Raising rates might have led the president to make a different choice. So here we are. Now, just look at energy inflation, for example. If you think an electric car will help you, electricity is up 11% year over year. Now, President Biden calling for more spending. The Fed chairman telling me last week that the Fed's action and government spending led to inflation. Now, Powell is saying that Americans will feel some pain as the Fed raises interest rates to try and save off or hold off a recession and bring inflation back down. At the White House, Edward Lawrence, Fox Business.
The nationwide baby formula shortage continues to worsen across the country, leaving many parents and caregivers scrambling. Some doctors concerned about what actions parents may take to help fill the gaps that shortage is causing. Pediatrician Dr. Victoria Reagan offering some tips to help families manage. Dr. Reagan says it's important to not water down your baby's formula and to also avoid purchasing formula from an untrustworthy source such as eBay or Facebook Marketplace. Parents can also avoid wasting formula by making only the specific amount their baby drinks. And if your baby is drinking more than 32 ounces a day, you may be able to introduce solid foods into their diet. Social Security check recipients could be looking for a historic boost in cost of living adjustments. The nonpartisan Senior Citizens League said it is anticipating the Social Security Administration to jump benefits by as much as 8.6% in 2023, making for more than a 40-year high. The rise could be from April's Consumer Price Index data. The estimated figure could still change based on whether inflation has peaked. The average monthly benefit is about $1,657. The administration will release final adjustments in October. Legislation to control gas prices is making its way through the halls of Congress. Congress will vote on legislation barring excessive or exploitative fuel prices, preventing increases during national energy emergencies. The measure is not likely to get enough support from Republicans to become law. Gas prices have been soaring over the last 3 weeks, with diesel, mid-grade, and premium gas reaching record highs. The House committee investigating the January 6th riot at the Capitol subpoenaed 5 GOP lawmakers on Thursday. The panel believes they have information which could help them piece together the events of what occurred that day. Madeline Rivera has details from Washington.
In a fairly unprecedented move, the House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot subpoenaed 5 Republican members of Congress. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Congressman Andy Biggs, Mo Brooks, Jim Jordan, and Scott Perry.
We feel they have an obligation to tell the truth and to help us move forward and heal.
The panel has been investigating McCarthy's conversations with former President Trump on the day of the attack. All 5 have been asked to speak voluntarily to the committee, but no one has complied.
I think it is unusual. I think the committee is illegitimate. I thought it was that way when it started.
The move marks a dramatic escalation as the committee prepares for public hearings next month.
Do you think that the House, if they don't comply with these subpoenas, that the House should vote to hold them in contempt?
If they don't comply, yes, I do. And I look forward to doing that.
That's pretty rare to do that because the House has its own.
Excessively rare, but then again, so are insurrections.
But with midterm elections quickly approaching, some warn Democrats could face retribution should Republicans take back the House.
People have asked, does this set a precedent for the issuance of subpoenas for members of Congress in the future if there are coups and insurrections? and I suppose that it does.
If the members don't comply, the House could vote to hold them in contempt, and that could trigger a prosecution by the Department of Justice. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
Now to the latest from Ukraine. Russia responds to Finland's decision to join NATO with an ominous new warning. Trey Yingst has more from Kyiv.
More military threats from Russia as fighting intensifies on day 79 of the war in Ukraine. Moscow issuing a new warning to Finland, a day after the country announced plans to apply for NATO membership after decades of neutrality. The Russians suggesting the move could spark a new military buildup in the north, putting Finland on the front lines.
This will necessitate certain military technical measures, like improving or raising the degree of defense preparations along the Finnish border.
Ukrainian forces still have the Russians on the run in the north, near Kharkiv, and new satellite images show a renewed offensive to retake Snake Island, a strategic target that could limit Russia's control over the Ukrainian coastline. And while Russia is making minor gains in the south, Ukraine's defensive lines are largely holding.
Very much an artillery war in the sense that the Russians have a preponderance of artillery, and it's very good, but their ground forces cannot fight effectively.
Meanwhile, here in Kyiv, the first war crimes trial of a Russian soldier opened on Friday. The 21-year-old sergeant admitted he shot a civilian. He says he was only following orders. He's facing life in prison, but his lawyer says it's not clear how the court will rule, because this is the first case of its kind.
It is the first time this article of the criminal code is under court hearing. This is the first case. There is no case law.
Ukraine's top prosecutor says she's investigating more than 10,000 alleged war crimes by Russian forces. In Kyiv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
A rogue Kentucky senator is holding up Ukraine funding as the conflict in Eastern Europe reaches day 79. After unanimously passing in the House a $40 billion aid package for Ukraine, it has stalled in the Senate. Despite the wishes of leaders of both parties, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul has delayed Senate approval until next week, requesting additional scrutiny through an inspector general. The bill still seems set to pass as Ukrainian forces try and slow Russian advances in the southeast. Apple has been reportedly coaching managers at its retail stores on how to talk employees out of unionizing. Vice reports the company has sent around talking points such as an outside union doesn't know Apple or its culture. It's also encouraging store leaders to touch base with employees about potential union activity. 2 Apple stores have officially petitioned the government to hold union elections. Another is looking to do so. Reports say Apple hired anti-union lawyers, and some workers say the company held a meeting to spread anti-union messages. Casinos in the U.S. are bringing in the big bucks. Casinos across the country recorded their best month in history, pulling in more than $5.3 billion in March. According to the American Gaming Association, the previous record was set in July 2021 at $4.92 billion. But while the revenue is positive news, in-person casino revenue in some areas, such as Atlantic City, has not yet rebounded to pre-pandemic levels. Your complete weekend forecast is coming up next. Plus,
the world's coral reefs are in critical condition. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with a look at what's contributing to their demise and the unique programs helping to restore them coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Hi everyone, welcome. I'm meteorologist Sam Ryan. As we look back over the last 5 days, it's been a dry stretch, haven't had any rainfall or measurable rainfall. It has been warm, however. As we look at the temperatures, they were on a rise and then kind of plateaued a little bit, low to mid 80s. And we're going to stay warm through the day here Saturday. Temperatures running about 10 to 15 degrees above the average. And then slowly start to cool down next week. But looking long range into the following weekend, I think we'll warm back up again. Certainly strong indication to suggest that. Into the overnight, though, we'll have increasing clouds, 66 degrees at midnight, 63 at 3 a.m., 61, 6 a.m., and then heading into the day, we'll again see that heat crank back up. 62 in the morning, 74 at noon, and 76 at 5 p.m. Notice we get some showers and thunderstorms beginning to rear their head in the forecast. Not expecting anything severe here for the day Saturday, but Sunday we could have an isolated severe storm. And so it looks unsettled. The whole pattern begins to change a little bit. We have area of low pressure that will be lifting northward through the region. Initially, those winds out of the south. Here we are at 9 p.m. on Saturday, and then into Sunday morning, maybe a lingering shower. But it looks like the arrival of these showers and storms Saturday, if you have any plans, will be in the later half of the day and certainly not a washout. Generally speaking, we're only going to pick up around maybe 0.15 to 0.2 of an inch of rainfall. That's just through 7 p.m. on Sunday. We kind of repeat that whole thing again Sunday, but cooler temperatures. So in other words, morning, most of the morning should be dry. Can't rule out an isolated shower, but it's only about a 20% chance. Those chances increase then into the afternoon, and the later we get into the afternoon, the higher percent chance of those scattered showers and thunderstorms. Nothing severe expected here Saturday, highs near 80. Can't rule out a little bit of hail. Can't rule out some strong wind gusts just due to the rainfall pushing some of that air out ahead of it. Saturday, high temperatures again near 80. Increasing clouds overnight. A returning active weather pattern. A cold front will fall apart around the area. We'll have some breezy winds into the day Tuesday, and just weak thunder showers seem to be the dominant trend here. But Sunday could have a couple severe thunderstorms, and that would be wind and hail again. High near 80, and then we start to cool off, as I mentioned, into next week. Should have some couple dry days Tuesday, Wednesday, and again late next week into the next weekend. I think we'll warm back up with 80s back in the forecast. We'll keep an eye on it.
Elon Musk says his $44 billion Twitter deal is temporarily on hold, pending further details on the amount of spam and fake accounts on the social media platform. The Tesla founder announced the update Friday on social media, writing more details need to be revealed about how many inauthentic accounts there are on the platform. Musk linked to a Reuters article which cited a May 2nd financial filing from Twitter that estimated fake or spam accounts made up fewer than 5% of the company's monetizable daily active users in the first quarter. Musk appears to be skeptical that the number of inauthentic accounts is that low. Meanwhile, more fallout among the staff at Twitter ahead of Elon Musk's planned acquisition of the company. Two of the social media platform's top managers were fired Thursday in a sign of internal turmoil. A general manager and a revenue and product lead were shown the door, supposedly after disagreements. Twitter said in an announcement they were freezing most hiring except in business-critical roles. A controversial social media law in Texas is back on the books for now. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reinstated a Republican-backed law in Texas preventing social media companies from banning users due to political views. The court did not explain its reasoning or rule on its constitutionality, simply allowing it to be enforced as it moves through lower courts. The law was blocked last fall, with a judge ruling that private companies have the right to moderate content. And taking a break from social media could make you healthier. Researchers at the University of Bath in England say small breaks from social media can make big improvements in mental health, especially for those using social media and dealing with anxiety and depression. Scientists say breaking away from social media for 9 hours gave great mental improvements. One medical expert says too much social media leads to comparisons, making people feel inadequate about their own lives, lowering self-esteem. Google is adopting a skin tone palette to help promote what it calls image equity across various races. The palette is called the Monk Skin Tone Scale, created by Harvard professor and sociologist Dr. Ellis Monk. He studied skin tone and its effects on people's lives. Google will use the scale to promote an equity of representation in skin tone imagery. The scale will help evaluate whether a product or feature works well across skin tones, even for computer vision artificial intelligence, which often does not work well for darker toned skin. In New Mexico, the largest fire burning in the U.S. has now consumed more than 405 square miles, an area bigger than the city of Dallas. The fire east of Santa Fe has churned through mountainous forests for more than a month. Fire officials said there was not much they could do in recent days to stop the fast-moving flames burning in tinder-dry forests in the Sangre de Cristo Range in the northern part of the state. fueled by overgrown mountainsides covered with ponderosa pine and other trees sucked dry of moisture over decades. Crews fighting the flames along the mountain fronts held their own this week thanks to welcome help from aerial attacks, but one fire operations chief said that in some places where winds were gusting, it was almost like putting a hairdryer on it. Creeping inflation bit into your paycheck in April, according to federal data. The Labor Department says average hourly earnings for all employees went down 2.6% compared to April of a year ago. Despite rising wages, buying power is worse. Food prices jumped for the 17th consecutive month, with high increases in dairy, meats, and cereal and bakery. Airline flights jumped more than 18% in April compared to the prior month. The benefits of coral reefs are bountiful, from providing shelter to countless creatures to protecting coastlines from storms. But environmentalists say these are all at risk. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reports the world has already lost between 30 to 50% of its reefs as climate change, pollution, overfishing, and invasive species continue pushing these fragile creatures to their limits. Ashley Stromier has a look now at a series of special projects aiming to combat the crisis.
Just like the tides, the future of the world's coral reefs are turbulent. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, from 1901 to 2020, the surface temperature of the world's oceans increased by roughly 0.14 degrees Fahrenheit each decade. This change in temperature can result in coral bleaching, a process where the organisms lose the algae inside of them, turn white, and then die. But there's still hope.
The coral is not healthy and doesn't have a surplus of energy. It won't invest in reproduction. So the first thing we had to do is make sure the coral has great conditions to live in.
Scientists at Florida's Coral Rescue Center are busy breeding hundreds of new coral. They're part of a species off the coast of the Florida Keys, facing threats from stony coral tissue loss disease and climate change. Researchers will continue fostering these new coral babies in hopes of using them to restore nearby damaged reefs. A similar rehabilitation project is also underway in Cuba, where divers are combing the seafloor for broken pieces of coral.
Those that fall in the sand die automatically. In 2 days, you can see they turned white.
Officials hang the fragments from plastic tubing, where they can continue growing and have about a 99% chance of survival until they're large enough to be repopulated. Similar strategies from these smaller coral programs could also help Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Scientists recently revealed more than 90% of its corals are now bleached. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
From acquiring the first image of a black hole in the center of our galaxy to getting a step closer to growing crops on the moon, Ted Linder shows us that it was a week of out-of-this-world space breakthroughs.
Scientists revealing the first image of the massive black hole in the center of our Milky Way galaxy on Thursday. The outer space giant, called Sagittarius A*, is the second black hole in history to be captured on camera, allowing researchers to better study gravity, quantum mechanics, and how galaxies may have formed.
It's provided excellent confirmation of Einstein's theory of general relativity and has confirmed the mass of the black hole at the center of our galaxy, which is about 4 million times that of our sun.
Deriving the image was an intensive international effort involving several global telescopes joining forces to observe the black hole.
We connect radio dishes around the globe and we synchronize them with atomic clocks. They all look at the same black hole at the same time, and that creates a virtual dish as large as the Earth itself.
But the space discoveries don't stop there.
Holy cow.
Researchers at the University of Florida are using lunar soil to grow plants. Scientists took moon soil collected by astronauts like Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and planted the seeds of a small flowering plant called the Thailcress. And while all the seeds sprouted, the plant stopped growing shortly after. But still, like other scientific breakthroughs in history, officials say this shows what's possible for the future.
So it's easy to sort of look back at the Wright brothers now and say, hey, that was the first time, they're just trying it out, it worked, and look at where we are now.
The team is preparing to attempt the experiment again as NASA gears up to send astronauts back to the moon with its Artemis program within the next 3 to 4 years. Ted Linder, Fox News.
Ever wanted to have the feeling of a barbecue inside your house? Well, this new product might be for you. Fast food giant Shake Shack released burger-scented candles. The company teaming with high-end home fragrance brand Apotheke to unveil a set featuring 2 5-ounce candles dubbed Burger in the Park and Shaken Fries. The complete set will run customers about $42, or you can order your own at apothekeko.com. That does it for us. I'm Jamie Holmes. Thanks so much for watching.